Welcome, everyone, to Beauty from the Ashes. Today, I have a woman with me who says she is filled with a passion larger than life itself. Sheila Preston Fitzgerald, thank you for sharing with us today, Sheila.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Now, years ago, you suffered a terrible motorcycle accident, and you had your foot amputated as a result. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but today you are a manicurist by trade in the beauty industry, and you're also a speaker. You have a prayer ministry, and your autobiography will be coming out soon. Is that this year? Later this year it'll be released?
That's the goal. It's all in God's hands.
Okay. And I love the title. It's called One Foot in Heaven.
Yes.
Love it. You have a great sense of humor.
Yeah, it's the best medicine.
Absolutely. Oh, I completely agree. I mean, believe me, with prosthetics, I mean, there's a ton of opportunity for humor.
Yeah. It makes it easier for other people, for recipients to be okay with it. We need to be okay with it, with anything that might not be. We're filled with imperfections. So if we take that and make it light and make it fun, then it just makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. I agree. Now, can you tell us a little bit about where you were in your life before the accident happened?
Sure. The accident was September of 2011, and I was married, had been married 20 years, had a wonderful home, a beautiful relationship with my husband, it just seemed that life was perfect. It just seemed like it was. So there were issues. We all have our issues that we just kind of deal with behind the doors. But unfortunately, on an evening ride home on my motorcycle, I was on my bike. My husband at the time was on his behind me. And approaching an intersection, I let off the throttle. Somebody had turned in front of me. I saw a giant SUV turn in front of me. I let off the throttle to let them complete the turn. Sadly, though, there was another vehicle that was right behind it, a four-door, like a sedan. And she just kind of piggybacked on the car in front of her. She just didn't see me. She either didn't pay attention to the light. Anyway, somehow it happened. And the impact initially hit my left side, pinned me between my lower limb, it pinned my leg between my bike and her bumper on the car. My body landed on the hood of her vehicle. My head hit her windshield.
Oh my gosh.
Now, when I rode, I grew up on dirt bikes, so I have a very strong respect for the motorcycles and for the road and off-road, and just grew up an adventurous child. The impact, when my head hit the windshield, I blacked out for just a couple of seconds. All the reports were that I did 2 somersaults before I landed on the pavement. When I landed on the pavement, I stuck the landing. Boy, did I. I stuck the landing with my right leg. And that impact caused significant, massive damage on the right leg. When I fell backwards, my head hit the pavement. My helmet flew off. I found out later that statistically, when a helmet flies off in an accident, it's a very high statistic that a head is in the helmet. My husband at the time saw all of this. It was a live movie right in front of him. But when I landed, I regained consciousness again. And I can remember every sound, every smell, every touch, it was crazy. It was just really kind of crazy. But I remember it all. And I thought that I was paralyzed from the waist down because I couldn't feel my legs. But my husband at the time, he came to me, and he was a first responder. He was an officer with the fire department. Okay. So it's a huge blessing. But he went into first responder mode and assessed the damages, just kind of took over in that situation, held cervical traction so that there was no further injury. Didn't know at the time, but I soon found out that both femoral arteries had been damaged. I had compound fractures in my left side. I had an amputation in my lower limb. The leg was held on by just about 1.5 inches of skin and one visceral artery. They found it. The paramedics, when they arrived, they found it up underneath, inside my chaps. They found my leg. And it's crazy. It's crazy. It's weird. The right leg didn't bear much better. The right knee was crushed, and the right femur was broken in several places. So that's pretty trashed. It was a ragdoll situation. I never went into shock. I was conscious through the whole thing. I held conversation with paramedics and firefighters and the EMTs. People came all around me. I heard all kinds of crazy things like, "Where's her foot? Oh my gosh, it's a girl." Because it was in the evening. This was about 8:30 in the evening. And so when people came, up to the actual scene, and it was in a major intersection in Franklin, Tennessee. When they got ready to start cutting on my britches, they realized that the one thing that was saving my life was God orchestrated. Mm-hmm. Because I had so many breaks in my left leg, the one that had been amputated in the scene. There were my denim jeans, and this is I'm going to put a plug out there for fitted denim jeans. Go for it. The denim had actually acted as a twisted tourniquet through every single severing along that femoral bone and muscle. So when they discovered that, they didn't cut any further. Yeah. Now another miraculous story through the accident, the night of the accident, was that my main paramedic, he and I talked about it later, but he had a small voice that would whisper to him and just kept telling him, "Don't straighten the legs. Whatever you do not straighten her legs." Now, I don't know how many people know, but in a medical situation, you typically straighten out the body. You put them on a backboard to transport. You stabilize everything. Yeah. Well, he fought against that. And he actually, what would you say? He disobeyed a command from an officer not to straighten those legs. I was backboarded, but I was in a twisted pretzel position. My legs were kind of back behind me when they life flighted me. Funny, they put me in an ambulance first and then had to carry me about a block to where the
helicopter was. Mm-hmm.
Chopper landed. But even with the chopper, there's a whole miracle in that story. They, life flight was never called. Okay. Life flight was, life flight just happened to be in the area. They just happened to be empty. They just happened to be a trauma crew. And they just happened to be female nurses. They were listening to the radio traffic, and they chose to land. They arrived on the scene before an ambulance did. That doesn't happen. That is not how that's supposed to go.
Sure.
But with God, God's in control,
Gives us everything we need, including life flight when we need it.
Life flight. Amazing life flight. And with life flight, there was, I had an amazing, beautiful spiritual journey the night of my accident. And I've had many since then. But that night is something that I would never trade, that spiritual journey, for brand new Barbadell legs, a brand new home. I lost my home. I lost my 21-year marriage. I lost the leg eventually. It took a year, but I ended up losing it. When I was flown into Vanderbilt, I was blessed to have a young surgeon who I found out a year later after the accident. He'd only been in practice 2 months on his own. He said, "I think I can put the leg back on. I really do." Now, he was going against all medical odds, all protocol to do that. And in doing that, I actually kept my leg for almost a year. But through it all, just grateful that, one, I should have never survived. Medically, I shouldn't be here. When you bleed out on femoral arteries, that's just not supposed to happen.
Right.
But through it all, I've had, I spent, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks initially in the hospital, and then probably another 6 weeks throughout the next 3 years rebuilding my legs. Renewing is it's a slow process, but it's been such a journey and so much fun. Just to take all these little literal baby steps.
Yeah.
They may be baby physical steps, but the beauty, what comes from the spiritual and emotional and mental is massive compared to the physical. Mm-hmm. It just is so much fun. This morning when I was praying about our session together, God kept bringing to me, I believe it's in 2 Corinthians 4, and it talks about the light through the darkness. And I love how God takes such massive darkness, tiny, pinhead flecks of light, just shine brighter in darkness and through darkness.
Absolutely. It's wonderful that you were a Christian beforehand, so that walking through this, you could see God working and you could see those things as from Him.
Yes.
And that you were, in that way at least comforted by His presence there. Yes.
And I would say I've always been a believer. I've been a believer since I was a teenager, blessed with that. However, I'm a beautifully chosen, abundantly blessed daughter of the living God.
Amen.
He chose me to go through that darkness. He picked me. Now, it's taken me years to understand that and to accept it. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest part. We know these things in our head, but to accept it and to embrace it and to walk out in it and to live it fully, abundantly, that's where so many blessings come from.
Sure.
If we just take that little step past, do you follow Him? Do you live out His walk for you? Whatever your walk may be.
Sure.
Mine gets goofier and crazier by the minute. Okay.
The more you trust Him, the crazier His requests start to sound and get, I know. But it always comes around to something that's really, truly amazing.
It does.
Right?
It does.
So then you said you lost your husband through this process. You eventually, you lost the leg. You lost your home, your career. My gosh, how did God come into that hopeless, grieving place and help you out of that?
I think when we all go through losses, we do retreat. We retreat. We are so broken. Mm-hmm. And when we are broken so badly, and we believe that there's not a piece of us that's worth saving, the Holy Spirit brought to me this image, and I go back to it over and over and over again because it gives me such joy and such light.
Yeah.
But I look at it that I was completely destroyed emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Each one of those areas that have been destroyed and shattered, if you will. Mm-hmm. I see them as different colored piles of glass. And they're beautiful colors. They're colors that we can't even describe because we don't have the name for them. Beautiful, amazing color. Blue and green and yellow and fuchsia and purples. And they're just massive, beautiful colors. Because we have so many different areas within our life. We tag them, emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, that kind of thing.
Right.
But there's even different depths of those.
Oh, absolutely.
So all those different piles of glass, and some of them can be just tiny shards that even sometimes the littlest things, somebody may say something that you're already kind of vulnerable, and something may get said, and they may mean it well, but it hurts to your core.
Yeah.
Those slivers, those shards, I'm now seeing God take each one of those pieces of brokenness and put them together to make this gorgeous stained glass. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know, but when light shines in and through stained glass, especially the more broken and slivered and shard that it is,